if no one can have anything more than anyone else, no one can have anything at all.
How does that contrast with, say, a belief system that's centred on political correctness? Because that's quite easy to articulate and understand, those sort of belief systems.
Well, it's also an effective call to a very base motivation. So if you put forward the proposition that it's all about power, then, and that those who have more power have it because they have essentially stolen it, well then all sorts of things are now open up for you. It's like, well, anyone who has more than you of anything is a thief. That's quite the proposition. It's very convenient for you. You're justified in stealing it back. In fact, you might be morally obligated to do so. You have a convenient place to put the problem of evil, and it's certainly not within you. It allows you to act on your envy. And boy, you want to be careful of adopting a belief system that allows you to act on your envy, because envy is a very, very, very corrosive motivational force. You know, and if no one can have anything more than anyone else, no one can have anything at all, because everything is never going to be absolutely equitably distributed.
And yet, so much of what we see now is trying to manufacture equity. It's not about equality, it's about having equitable outcomes. And that seems to be something that's illogical, but yet it's an ideal that's held up.
It's attractive too, in some sense, right? Because if you're, and it's attractive in an instinctive way, in some sense. If you're walking down the street and you see someone who's homeless, it's going to produce a stirring of conscience, right? At least you feel, well, that's unfortunate. You might think there, but for the grace of God. You're going to think, wouldn't it be better if society was constituted so that such things did not occur? You might think that person has been victimized and oppressed, and it certainly might be the case in their particular case. And so that sets you up with a moral conundrum. And if you're given an easy explanation for that also appeals to your base motives, then you're very likely to jump at it, and maybe even to apply it to yourself. And so it's easy to make that viewpoint attractive, and it takes education to make that viewpoint not attractive. So, I mean, I think that almost all societies that have become successful have done so by educating themselves in some real sense out of an instinctive false compassion and envy. And because those are there at hand, they always have to be, what would you say? They always have to be pushed back against. They always have to be differentiated. So what's the difference between wealth and theft? Well, someone might not come up with that idea on their own, but once it's presented to them, especially to a young person, especially given that the system is not fair in the ultimate sense, it presents a very difficult conundrum. Especially also because some people do have more than others because they're psychopathic and manipulative, Machiavellian, and they don't play fair. So for me, the miracle is that there are any societies at all where that isn't the case all the time, where the tyrants just aren't victorious. And one of the things I really like about the ethos of the West is that I think the central ethos of the West is precisely the spirit that moves effectively against tyranny, is not the cause of tyranny. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't tyrannical elements of the West, because of course there are.